Hello everyone, this is Shadow Dragon back with another episode of DC Universe Online. Today is September 23rd, and that puts us about a week and a half into the Resurgence Mega promotion, featuring the new power materials. So I'm just showing this on my Green Lantern because it's the only one I own currently. And you'll see why, because in this episode we're going over what the prices are at this point in time. So this is somewhat of a price guide. I don't recommend buying them yet, especially if you're patient and you don't need to show these off, because they will get much lower. I mean, this promotion is going to run for like a month, and we're just a week and a few days in. But I thought it would be important to go ahead and do the initial video looking at the broker, because right now things have somewhat settled in, and it will give us an idea of the order of popularity. So we'll see what's going to be the lowest and cheapest ones, and we can start to set tiers and kind of plan ahead. So yeah, I went ahead and I opened a few of these, and I sold every single one, but decided to keep the Green Lantern one, because at the time I opened it, it would have only sold for 5 million and probably under, so I wouldn't have earned that much from it. And quick tip when you're looking for these, especially if you're buying them, make sure you have at least the styles selected, but you also want to select material to be totally safe, because there are players that are throwing in the material balls which have the same descriptive name, and those are junk loot levels right now. Those are less than 1,000, but what people are doing is throwing them in and pricing them the same price as the actual material to bait people into buying them by mistake. So don't be a victim of that. Make sure you're under styles and material. Okay, so on the first page we see that one of them actually dropped below 3 million. A few days ago they were around 4 and 5, so they are still dropping. On the first day, if you got these, you could have sold them at really crazy prices. Like we're talking, the top ones could have gone for over 50 million. For people that wanted them first. And also in the beginning you have no idea which one is going to be the top one, because it hasn't settled in yet. But with a week and a half there's somewhat of an idea. So we see Nature at the bottom, which I'm actually surprised by, because Nature seemed to have like the best tech, where it was taking advantage of it actually looked like two different textures. And whenever something was facing the top, it would show like the green, and it would show like the rocky texture towards the bottom of the model. But yeah, it falls under the lowest. But they're not that far off. Like a few days ago, you would see Sinister and Glowing mixed in, the two lantern colors. And they were at the lower end, but kind of like alternating and mixed in also with Nature. And we see Enigmatic. Actually, let me cross these off so on my other computer, just to make sure I don't go over them twice. So on the first page we're seeing the two lights, Nature and Enigmatic for Mental. As I keep mentioning, these materials are very close in quality and technology. Unlike the auras that varied greatly. So in the auras, like we had very simple ones like Nature, which ended up being the lowest one, and then like a very sophisticated one as far as particles, like with Fire, and that was much higher. These are a little bit closer, so that's why we see a lot of these in the lower bracket. So we're seeing Watchful now, already on the second page for munitions. And then we're seeing Terrestrial for Earth. So I would put all these under the same bracket. Another quick note on Earth is terrestrial is spelled correctly for the material. It is spelled incorrectly if you're looking at the aura and the material ball. They had it written out as terrestrial without that R at the end. So yeah, just be sure you're searching for the best thing to search for is to type in like a partial. Don't type in the full word, because one of the mistakes you could make is if you type either the misspelled version or the correct spelling, you might not see the item and then think it's expensive. So yeah, always do a partial. Moving on to page 3, we're hovering on the 4 million area, but these are all the same ones. And then we're seeing mystical trickle in at the mid 4s, and that is consistent because now we're seeing mystical on page 5 where it's going from 4 to 5 million. And we have a mechanized mixed in. Let's see, mechanized is gadgets. I keep getting that mixed up with munitions for some reason. But we have the first mechanized. And there is a surging in here. Surging on page 5 for under 5 million. That's probably a good buy at this point. If you wanted to resell it, that is. Alright, so we're at the 5 million. Now I think 5 million is just going to be a popular number just because it's, it's 5. Nothing new here. Okay, we do have another surging here, but surging is a little bit more spread out than the others because it's going up to about 5.4. Last one on the page. And now we're going 5 million to 6 million. And 6 to 6.5, we're starting to see nuclear at the 6.5 area. Nuclear being the atomic aura, atomic material. I would have actually expected atomic to be really close to fire because they look really similar and they're definitely interchangeable between the two powers. Nuclear is just darker than scorching. Scorching being the fire one. Now at the higher end, these numbers are jumping much faster. We're going 6.7 to 7 on page 10. Still all the higher end ones. Oh, you know what? I missed Wicked. Hang on, let's circle back and see where the first Wicked was. See, if you skim through these quickly, my eyes are probably playing tricks on me with Wicked and Wild. And I don't want to type it because that's going to wipe out what I have now. Alright, so Wicked starts at 6. So it's kind of mixed in with the lower mid area. It'd probably be around where Mystical and Surging are at this point. And oddly enough, there's a Sparking here that I missed. Sparking I thought was going to be one of the top ones. So that could be a fluke. If you had the money, you should buy that and resell it. But more of the wickets are around the 8s. Because we're starting to see it at the high, the 7.9s. I would say, like, since more of them are up here, it's probably going to be in this tier. Okay, so at this point, we're seeing temporal at 8 too. Temporal. Alright, temporal is the quantum one. Now that is a big change from the aura set, because temporal's aura kind of looked a little bit weird to me, and that was towards the lower end. But its material looks really good, because it's like a mid-tone blue. It gradates from blue to black. So you can use it for quantum, you can use it for like a dark water style even, or just if your character has a blue palette, it's just a great blue material. So kind of thought temporal would be up there. Wicked, it's kind of like a good purple. It could be a generic purple. It doesn't necessarily have to be dark celestial. In fact, you could probably use this for sorcery. Alright, moving up. Now we're starting to see more sparking. So this is probably the correct sparking price, around the 9s at this point in time. Alright, so pausing for a minute there, the ones we have not seen yet. Scorching for fire, Arctic for ice, Glorious for blessed celestial, and Furious for rage. Now, out of those, I expect 3 of them to be at the top. I didn't think Rage was going to be, because Rage is very similar to the other 2 light powers. The material itself on the gear, although it seems to have an additional like glow to it, almost a built-in aura. So it does pop a little bit more than the other 2, but it's maybe red's just more popular than green and yellow. Okay, but page 15, we're looking at the 9.5 into 10 millions. Okay, so now we're seeing some of the nuclears at the higher end with sparking. And then we see Furious trickling in at the 10.5. And moving up quickly to 11, we start to see Scorching. So Furious and Scorching are probably like in the same tier. And then just below that we have the things at the 9, like Surging and Sparking. I would say Surging probably hasn't really settled in yet. Sparking and Temporal are probably at the 9s. And so right now we're still seeing the same thing, all the same ones. Where does Glorious come in? Oh, actually, Glorious starts to come in at the 11s. Glorious really isn't like that flashy, but the thing is, it looks like a detailed gold material. So this is going to be used a lot outside of the power. So like I have a couple of Celestial tunes that I'm going to grab this for, but I'm also going to try to get it for characters that wear a lot of gold, which is going to be problematic because I have a lot. So even in the small circle of my own alts, I can see why this one is up there. And it's up there for different reasons than like Scorching and Arctic, because like those I'd say are like the flashy ones. So we're looking at the 12s to 13s. We're seeing the upper tier here. And then Arctic starts to come in like around here at 15. Let me just make sure there isn't one down here. Yeah, pretty big gap. And we're talking about a 12 million tier, then all of a sudden it jumps to 15 up for Arctic. all the way up to 25. Now, I don't think these will sell at 25. That's probably like someone highballing it from a few days ago. Like right now, if you were to buy Arctic, it would probably be 17 to 18. That's what you should go for. But yeah, just keep in mind that we're only a week and a half through this. And my prediction for these is most of them should at least get cut by half on the last week. And if I remember correctly, Nature was definitely under 1 million when we're talking about the megas with the auras. I'm kind of thinking it was 400k, but I might be wrong. Scorching was around 9 million at the end. I know I got it for lower than 9 million because I had to buy more than one of those, and I wouldn't have spent 9 million on it. Now, if we go based on that, what I've been saying is there's a huge quality gap in the previous promo with the auras. Looking at nature at the lower end and fire at the upper end. Now, the materials of these powers don't have that power gap, don't have that quality gap. They all look a little bit closer, which is why we have, I think, about half of them are in that lower tier, like the under 5 million area. So when these settle in, the highest material should be lower than the highest aura. So Arctic should not fall at 9 million at the end. It might be like 7 to 8. But on the flip side, let me go back to the first page. On the flip side, we should probably not see materials under 1 million, like where this is now. Yeah, you're not going to have materials go into the hundreds of thousands. So, like, I would think Wild would probably fall at lowest 1 million, but I think it's going to be 1.5. And for most of these others, they're going to be like in the, like 2 million. Because right now we're seeing a lot around the 5 million areas. Then it starts to jump up for the upper tiers, and it jumps up like pretty quickly. But anyway, at this point in time, it gives you a rough idea of like the different tiers and the rough order. I still recommend being patient about this. Like I'm pretty cheap about this. I didn't go out and empty my wallet on even the stabilizers. Like I just saved those up over several months. I didn't open any of the smaller capsules. I think we must have had 2 or 3 different capsules since the last mega. Like I learned from the first promo that you're basically getting 2 capsules for free when we get to the megas. So my plan was to never open a capsule until we get the megas. But there were some cases where you were required to open it for feats, like ever since they started putting artifacts in there. So I opened the bare minimum and I saved the rest. So when this mega came around, to date I haven't spent any money, any real money. These are from the monthly membership thing and just running the stabilizer event. And then what I'm doing is I'm selling all the auras with the exception of the one you see here. So those will attempt to pay for what I want in the last week. So if my predictions are right and they fall under the 5 million average, with a lot of them going under that, I should get a lot of the ones I want, but by my calculation I won't be able to. It's just too many. But yeah, I just wanted to do this video to at least give you some ideas about how to get these without trying to spend too much. It's just all based around patience. So if you're someone that's not concerned about getting these up first for like your social media bragging rights, go ahead and wait till the end. For someone like me who has a lot of alts, I have no choice but to do that. If I were to buy these in the beginning, I would only be able to style one character probably. But I'm trying to style like 20 with multiple materials on some of these characters, so I want to get as many as I can, and I know I'm going to fall short. But yeah, just hope this video opens your eyes to some ideas. Good luck getting these, and we'll definitely reconvene in about a week or so, and we'll see what the trends are then. Thanks for watching.